You are listening to I Am Refocused Radio with your host, Shamaya Reed. This show is designed to inspire you to live your purpose and regain your focus. And now, here's your host, Shamaya Reed.
Hey, welcome to I Am Refocused Radio. We are here once again, and man, today we have another amazing show lineup for y'all. Today we're going to be talking to an amazing business owner. His name is Peter Anthony. He has an amazing website you need to go check out. It's peteranthonyconsulting.com. Man, he's not just a coach, but he is someone that's going to help you who's listening to the show. You tune into the right show. I want to say first and foremost, thank you, Peter, taking time talking to us, man. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good, Shamaya. Good morning. Good evening from Sydney, Australia.
And man, I love the fact that we get to have guests internationally, and it's always great to have insight from people like yourself who are leaders in your own community and doing great things with your business, because it is a platform. So before we dive into everything that you do, kind of tell the audience a little bit about your background story. You're not just a business owner, you're also an author and speaker. So kind of gives a little good idea of who you are.
That's a great question. I work in 12 countries around the world right now. 12 years ago, when I started my business, I was working off a kitchen bench and a laptop at my home in Manly. And through a lot of good advice and a lot of good fortune and a lot of good faith, I arrived at an approach that not only helped me enormously, like personally and professionally, I've also had the good fortune to be able to assist people in all types of businesses in those 12 countries. So I feel very fortunate this morning.
That's awesome, man. And when you decided that you wanted to be a business owner, did you always have that in you that this is what I want to do? Did someone inspire you? Because I know there's some people who come from a family of entrepreneurs. What was that like for you when you first started?
When I very first started, I worked for a multinational. I worked for IBM originally, who are an awesome organization. And I was there for 5 or 6 years, Shamaya, and I realized pretty quickly that it was killing my soul. I mean, some people are born to be corporate animals and work in large organizations, and that's fantastic. I was one of those individuals that just had a burning fire inside myself, or a call to adventure, if you like, that I needed to do something else. And I think the message you get from yourself is, I'm not happy here and I'm going to be happier somewhere else. You get an inkling of a dream or an inkling of an idea. And if you're ever desperately unhappy, it's usually because you're off your own track, not somebody else's track or the boss's track or the corporation's track. I think each person, and I was an example of this, has an inkling or a feeling or a sense of what they are really destined to do. And what I found is the more I followed that call, or the more I explored that dream, if you like, the happier I became, and also the more successful I became, because I believe we've all got unique contributions to make. We know what those contributions are. And you arrive at a place where you feel good by doing well. You're answering your call. You're doing well at that particular call because that's what you're designed to do. And you become useful to others because you're making a unique contribution in their lives or in their workplaces that no one else can make. So I call it, the name I give it is called Collabradabra, which is the magic of a collaborative approach. When you reach out to the world in a collaborative faith or a collaborative mission, if you like, not only are you improving your own life, which is fantastic, but you're also demonstrably improving the people's lives around you. And it's a great way to live. I highly recommend it.
We're talking to our guest today, Peter Anthony, and you go to his website, peteranthonyconsulting.com. When you are coaching your clients and you're working with them, you cover multiple things. So for the audience, kind of paint a picture of what is the process like when you're working with clients one-on-one.
When I'm working one-on-one, I guess it depends on their role in the organization, Shamaya, but I usually start with the individual and we do like a psychometric assessment, which is looking at their personality closely on 3 different levels. We're looking at who they are underlying, which is like who this underlying soul or person is, how they might adjust or change when they get to work, and also how they might turn up or respond under stress. And what I'm looking for is helping them get on track. So have the way they're living every day, if you like, or the way they're turning up at work as close as possible to who they really are or what their core personality is. We take that and then we say, okay, you can't work as an individual. You've all got to work in groups and teams, and think, well, and whether that team's a virtual team or like an in-person team in an office, you think, how do I collaborate in a team? How do I get the wisdom of that particular crowd? And what we find is a well-formed, diverse group or team makes smarter decisions and its smartest members. And we can run simulations or exercises in workshop environments where we can show people, let's give you all an activity to complete. Maybe you've been involved in an airline accident and you've survived with 10 others, and here's what you have at your disposal. We get each individual person to make a decision about ranking those items from 1 to 10. Then we get the group to make a decision, and the group always makes a smarter decision than the so-called smartest or best outcome could be. And there's a lot of research behind this approach. They go, okay, I'm collaborating with myself. I'm becoming the best version of me. I'm then taking that best version of me into a well-formed, diverse team that's going to make smart decisions. I'm then going to work, if I'm running an organization or I'm running a much larger group or a company, I'm looking at how I create a collaborative culture so all the diverse disciplines in the organization can collaborate and self-actualize together. And then finally, and potentially most importantly, if you've got clients or customers that are external, how do you collaborate with that client or customer set in a way where your organization becomes ideal for them? So you understand who's my ideal client, who's my ideal customer, and what unique value are we delivering to this customer or to this group of people, and how do we become more ideal for them? And once we do that, we start experiencing profitable growth. So it's multi-level. And when I first meet a client, I may come in at any of those levels. It depends where they are. I'm looking for what I call high leverage items. What area in their business can I provide the most leverage with the fastest, whether that's individual, whether it's a team, whether it's a culture, or whether it's an external sales or customer relationship.
And it's important because we keep kind of circling around this word collaborate, right? So a collaboration is like building relationship, is like building rapport. So that is something that sounds like it's very important in what you're, teaching and going over with clients with different tools and resources that you provide with your brand. When it comes to them learning the functions of this and the fundamentals of this, how do you illustrate for them the potential impact this can be when they are dealing with sales in their, company that they work for, or, the appropriate department, whatever? Because sounds like to me, this is working hand in hand for you to attract, more opportunity for growth, obviously for your business, and deal with it in a manner where that relationship part starts to grow.
Yes. And I love the idea of this conversation, which is about refocusing. And if I take that question and think, okay, I'm refocusing, I'm potentially focusing or facing some sort of adversity in my business. I'm not getting the sales growth I'm looking for, whether that's as an individual or in an organization. I think, well, how do I refocus? Well, I refocus by looking at traditional selling and doing the complete opposite. Because most folks will reach for a sales book or a sales video on YouTube and look at how do I sell. And you think, well, I'd be asking you to think about the last time you felt like you were being sold to. What happened? You distanced yourself in the relationship, you got cynical about what was being told, and you tried to put downward pressure on fees or prices. You think, well, if that's the outcome I'd like, go ahead and sell. Well, it's not the outcome we want. Plus, it's not a very genuine way to be living or to be acting or to be believing. So what I'd recommend is to focus on the relationship, focus on building a collaborative relationship. And our research and our experience has taught us that there's three key intentions in a collaborative relationship. And there's a number of steps, or what we call moments, that matter in that collaborative conversation, which is different than a sales conversation. If you think about the intentions, you think, well, clearly my intention is to be collaborative, and you make that really obvious to the people that you're working with. Hey, I'm interested in building a collaborative relationship here, so we both get better outcomes than we could alone or with anybody else. I'm interested in being authentic and genuine in the way that I build this relationship with you, and that's upon you to be authentic and genuine. And also be optimistic, because all the good research says that people that are optimistic have more influence over others than people that are pessimistic. So with those intentions, you think, okay, I'm going to be having this sales conversation, whether it's through Zoom or whether it's face-to-face. And we like to think that there are 6 moments that matter in the conversation, and it's your ability to recognize and fulfill these moments, if you like, that will help you build both a collaborative relationship and, more importantly, the collaborative outcomes. Because some folks say, well, some people are outcome focused, some people are people focused. The beauty of this collaborative approach is that you get both. You both build the relationship, which is enjoyable of and by itself, plus you both get better outcomes than you could without that type of collaboration. Is it the sort of thing you're looking for, Shemaiah?
Yes, because it just led me to where I was going to drive the next point, and that is when people experience, XYZ brand, like whoever's listening, just think about the brand that you love, the most, whether you drinking the brand, you eating the brand, or you wearing the brand, you driving the brand, wherever that brand is, they at some point got you in emotional states, right? Where it's like, man, I love this X, Y, and Z. Well, that leads to the next thing that's really in your book, and that is Collabradabra, the magic of collaborative conversations, because it creates a magic, feeling.
Yes.
When people experience a certain situation at the point of a conversation or a relationship, because nothing's forced, everything kind of just free flows at that point.
It does. And if you think of the best brands in the world, the biggest brands, the way they build that brand, whether it's Coke or Nike or whatever brand that you may be engaged with, McDonald's, BMWs, Toyotas, they all do the same thing. I mean, if you look at any great advertisement, it always opens with the consumer, you, in view, with a particular problem. And they attempt to uniquely illustrate or show you that problem that you have. Yeah, that's me. I've got that problem. I'd like to feel good when I'm running, so I'm going to engage with Nike sportswear. I want a refreshing drink, so I'm going to grab a Coke. I want a fast meal that's easy to get, so I'm going to go to McDonald's. Whatever it might be. Hey, that's me. And you see you, and the brand builds a relationship with you that endures. So what they're looking for in building a brand is a unique understanding of your needs and your environment. And what I'd recommend to you as an individual is that you are a brand. I mean, Shemaiah, you're a brand. You're a very successful brand because you're very good at what you do. And listeners engage with you because you've built that personal brand, if you like, around you. If you look at the most successful entrepreneurs in the world, you look, say, for example, now we can talk about Elon Musk. He has developed a brand. He's developed a brand which is smart, articulate. He's quirky. Investors engage with him, and he's worked across multiple industries. I mean, he wrote PayPal with his brother. He developed Tesla, then SpaceX, wanting to land rockets on Mars. Then he started a boring company in Los Angeles to build tunnels under the roadways. He's got Neuralink, attempting to help people with catastrophic spinal cord injuries to help improve their life. And most recently, he purchased Twitter. Now, whether he stays CEO is a big debate right now. I'm not suggesting to be pro or anti Elon Musk, but he is a brand, and he's a brand that investors relate to because he's authentic, he's very much himself. He's optimistic about the future. I mean, how much more optimistic could you get than starting a civilization on Mars? And he's collaborative. I mean, he collaborates with his investors, with his employees, with the various industries he's involved with, and he's looking towards making the world a better place. So he's a global, well-known example of this approach. This isn't something that I invented. It wasn't like Peter Anthony sat down one morning and cracked this idea. I mean, it's the essence of the evolutionary spirit. The reason the Homo sapiens arose from the Neanderthals was that we developed these frontal cortexes that helped us communicate and collaborate with each other so we could be more successful as a species. Societies like Elinor Ostrom won the last woman to win a Nobel Prize in economics in pro-social collaboration. She studied the fact that societies that are collaborative are the most successful. There's a range of good research in almost any area you can look at that says the collaborators win. Now, right now, we have never been more polarized. The most recent Pew research in the US suggests that people have been never less likely to change their minds as a result of what they're listening to or what they're reading, because the social media algorithms feed you up more of what you already believe. And they make the other guys the enemy, right? They're the bad guys, we're the good guys. So it makes it harder to change your mind. And what I'm suggesting is that the collaboration is going to leave you both better off, whether it's politically, whether it's economically, or even in a relationship. There's good work done by John Gottman at Washington State University around romantic relationships and the conversations in romantic relationships that also have more enduring marriages. So it's an ethos I'd encourage you to embrace, to think more about how can I live a more collaborative life.
And that goes back to the book Collabradabra. Can't say
Collabradabra.
Yeah, that's
it rhymes with abracadabra. It's magic.
Yeah, I just got tongue-tied. I was trying to say Collabradabra is what I was trying to say. It goes back to where it says the magic, right? Because that's where it starts. Because it's like what you just kind of said moments ago about a person who kind of doesn't want to learn from something different, something new. Like the example of social media is showing an algorithm of just what you already like. Well, if a person treats their like daily routine as an algorithm, they leave no room for nothing else.
That's
no room for someone else to say something. Because if someone else says something different to what their algorithm is for that day, all of a sudden, like you said, they become like the enemy of that person. Like, oh, I'm not going to listen to you. I'm not going to give you any time of the day. But they could be missing out on the opportunity for that collaboration.
Yes. And if most problems that you'll be facing, I don't mean medical issues, I mean more psychological or challenges that you're facing that you find hard to address. Most of those issues will be either completely or partly solved by broadening and deepening the relationships that you're involved in. Because quite often what happens when you face challenges, one of the first things that happens in that stress response is you tend to withdraw from social support, and you tend to get more cynical and more pessimistic about the future. So this approach is saying, if you'd like the magic to happen, reach out to people. Even if you're a very introverted individual, you are very good at having fewer, deeper relationships. So reach out to those people, build those relationships, whether it's personally or commercially. And that's when the magic will start happening because, as I mentioned, we're hardwired evolutionary-wise to feel good by having successful relationships. And it's interesting, if you look at the positive psychology research, the number one marker of self-reported happiness, the people that say, I'm happiest when, it's relationships, when my relationships are going well, when I feel connected with people. So it's something I can strongly recommend to think about doing. How do I reach out? And what we're talking about now is the book I wrote, which is I thought, well, how do I do this? I mean, how do I as an individual change a culture or change a team or change a country? Well, maybe I can't, but I can change how I have conversations. So I went back to college and studied this and wrote the book. And fortunately, I've run workshops in 12 countries on this to help people build collaborative relationships by having collaborative conversations. Because when you think about it, a relationship is a series of conversations, and the quality of the relationships is the quality of the conversations.
And that's it right there. If you listen right now, you listen on Refocus Radio, talking to our guest, Peter Anthony. And yeah, get his book, Collabradabra. I can say it. And it's the magic of collaborative conversations. And when people get nervous, I'm going to be vulnerable for a minute because this is why people can relate to this show. When people get nervous, we easily can overthink things. Because that's like, it's funny you say introvert because I'm a big introvert. And what I'm getting at is sometimes you miss out on collaborations because you overthink the process to the point where you just shut it off. Not because you want to, but you just end up doing it. Because either A, you're making it worse than what it is. So people just be like, all right, I ain't got time for this. Or you do that versus just do it. Like, don't overthink it. Like, no one thinks about 2 minutes how to tie your shoes. Maybe when you first learned it when you're a toddler, but when you're grown, you don't do that no more. So that's what I'm getting at. It's that part of the process as well. Stop overthinking certain things.
Yes. And nervousness is very common. I get it regularly. I mean, I get to speak at conferences and open workshops and speak on podcasts, and I'm regularly getting nervous. And you think, well, and I ask myself the question, is that nervousness or is it excitement? And what should I be doing next? And I observe how I'm thinking. I think, wow, I'm getting a little nervous and get a bit excited. And what happens? Well, my senses get heightened. I pay a lot more attention to things. I feel a little bit jittery as I'm about to speak. And I'm thinking that's a good thing because what that's doing, it's a way of your mind and your body and your emotions to make you alert enough to be at your best. And I love the title of a book I read a few years ago. It was called Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. Feel the fear and do it anyway, because on the other side of that nervousness is where the treasures are. If you look at all the great fairy tales and kids stories, even Shrek, which I really love, the biggest treasure is always hidden behind the biggest dragon. The hero doesn't just walk past the dragon into the treasure. There's a struggle that's going on, and the hero's always doubting whether or not they can complete the challenge. So I'd say feel the nervousness. That's really normal, and the higher the stakes, the more the reward is there, the bigger the dragon is. On the other side, that means it's even more reason to not ignore the nervousness, not push it down, not pretend it's not there. Feel it and do it anyway. And you'll find you'll do a better job when you're slightly nervous and a little bit stressed than when you're not. I mean, one very quick story. I live in Manly in Sydney, and I swim regularly in the ocean in the morning. We swim through the surf and then around to a bay. It's about 1.5 to 2 Ks. And quite often the waves get big and we've got to make decisions about do we get through that surf or not. But what I find is the bigger the surf gets, the more I pay attention to it. It actually looks bigger than what it really is. And that's because I'm watching it more closely. Yeah. The waves aren't actually bigger. I'm just watching them closer. And you'll find all your attention zeroes in, and then you can perform at your best. And the reward is the other side is where your life changes. And you get the self-respect to say, hey, I dealt with that potentially challenging situation for me. I swam through that surf. I ran that meeting. I called that client. I had that conversation I was scared to have. And the other side is where you feel better. You get that sort of sense in your bones, that self-respect that only you know you can get.
Man, that's some good stuff right there, because there's so many examples you can put in that to prove that theory, or whatever you want to call it, is a practice, if you will, because it's like for an athlete, for them to reach that potential of their career, to do well, succeed. For a business person to succeed, a career person to succeed and go promotion. It's all about really attacking that fear and going to the other side, because you won't know that feeling of being proud of your work or your accomplishments if you play it safe and you settle.
Yeah, not settle. And the really interesting thing, Shemaiah, is that as you get more successful, the challenges get bigger. So you're always feeling the fear. You're always feeling nervous because the challenges keep getting bigger. I mean, I'm watching the NFL because I really enjoy watching Patrick Mahomes play football. Hopefully, I'm not turning anybody off by my allegiances in football. And I think you look at those great athletes, whether it's great Olympians or great football players or great baseball players, when they're young, they keep getting promoted up to leagues. And the challenges get bigger and bigger. And one of the reasons we love watching them play is because they keep stepping up to that challenge. We enjoy that because we're watching ourselves. We'd like to see ourselves in that person. And that's just a message from the universe back to us saying, hey, step up to your challenge. Not because it's a challenge, because that's what you're destined to do. And that's when you'll feel better. You'll feel much better stepping up to the challenge and realizing that you can conquer it than sitting back and just not doing it and feeling worse because you're not realizing your destiny.
That's the Collabradabra right there.
That's the magic. And the other person gets it too, Shemaiah. I mean, it's not just you get it. When you're collaborating, you get that feeling and you help them achieve something that they may not have thought they could achieve either. And you get to build the relationship and create an outcome you couldn't do alone. That's where the real magic takes place, happens again and again. And watch the quality of the relationships improve, the quality of the people that you have them with, and the quality of the outcomes that you get to enjoy in your life.
And I had someone recently kind of share a similar idea, and their point was in their business, they had to eventually delegate because without that collaborative effort of everyone involved, they would actually hurt the business versus help it go to the next level or get, to the next goal that they're trying to reach, because it is basically you're almost delegating everything for people to help you as you do what you specialize in.
Yes. And some people I know got promoted to a level where they were. I was working with a large engineering consulting firm, and one of the engineers there, he was a world-class engineer. He kept getting promoted to a level where he wasn't doing engineering anymore, and he was desperately unhappy. And he asked for a demotion back to a role where he could work more, what he calls working on the tools, because he really enjoyed that hands-on engineering. So it's, and only you'll get this sentiment. I can't tell you what that is for you. Only you know what that is, because you'll know in your bones, in your heart, what you're designed to do. And when you tap into that and you fully express it, that's the magic. And that's what I've learned through the past, 12 or 15 years?
Man, that's awesome right there. And if you listen on Refocus Radio, talking to our guest for today, Peter Anthony. Go to his website, peteranthonyconsulting.com. And before we wrap this up, call to action for our audience. They want to check out more information on your website before they contact you. What's the one thing you recommend that they do once they visit your website?
The one thing I recommend they do, they can visit the website, they can look at the book, which I'd very much appreciate if this message resonates with you. But the one message I would like to leave people with is to think about a conversation you're not having, whether that's a personal conversation or a work conversation or a friend conversation, and make a decision tomorrow to wake up and have that conversation, whether it's over the phone or through Zoom or face-to-face. And watch your life change. Have that conversation you've been delaying or you've been too afraid to have, and think about having those conversations with a collaborative spirit, because what I found is that's when the magic in your life will begin.
Once again, our guest for today, Peter Anthony. You can go to his website. For you one more time, it's peteranthonyconsulting.com. Get his amazing book on Amazon, Collabradabra. It is a book you need to read. I mean, people can, like I said, get stuck in old thinking. And everything we talked about is going against what you always are thinking about, and try to think on something different. Because if you continuously only think about a certain thing for a certain way, you get the same results. It's until you are open enough to say, all right, let's try to flip this a different way. And then that could be a whole different conversation at that point.
That's right.
All right, man. I want to say thank you to Peter Anthony, taking time out of your schedule, talking on Refocus Radio, man. Appreciate your time.
Absolute pleasure, Shemai. Have a great day.